Danzig, the discipline of those songs has uh, finally, I think, helped my guitar playing. It's been a really tough road on that band because, I'm filling the shoes of a couple other guitar players, mainly John Christ, and it's been really hard trying to emulate what he did. So that has allowed me to practice, or has given me, she has got me off my butt to practice more. Ministry was kind of a free for all, and it was not really any discipline going on. But with Danzig, this, like, I'm definitely apart from Glenn, like the focal point of the band, and I don't like to make mistakes. So it's like I got in there and I just try to, like, dig deep and play as best as I can, and it's always a challenge. Every night I go out there and it's like, man, like, God, it's like, I wish I did that better or whatever. It's always something, but I try my best at that.
John Christ is a fantastic guitar player, but in a way that he has a style and a nuance. And if you don't play guitar, or you do play guitar, you know this. It's not, you can replicate a sound or a tone, and you can get all the presets done, whatever. But it's all in the fingers a lot of times. And to learn how to be somebody else's fingers is nearly impossible. So at that point, you're trying to honor. And dancing songs are, almost cult like in legendary, where it's really kind of unfair for anybody to be able to kind of just slide in and be, emulate
It's
somebody.
it's more like with Glenn because I've had criticism, and I've responded to it with humility because there's no other way to do it. Uh, but I think the thing with that group and with Ministry too is like we come from the same background where like Al has like a post punk background, like
Yeah.
he's into all those groups, and like Glenn, which I'm into too, and then Glenn, we're almost in the same age group where we go back into 60s music big time.
Yep.
And then the whole glam rock thing, the early glam, which is like Sweet, T-Rex, and then punk rock, which essentially comes from the Dolls. So like the Dolls, Pistols, that, and then eventually into the post-punk scene. So yeah, I think that's where Glenn is like me. Like metal is like an afterthought. Like was sort of something. Like we grew up on Sabbath, we grew up on Deep Purple, but like we put it aside. Like we got in the punk scene, alternative scene, and then we sort of brought metal back into it. So like Glenn and I are a lot aligned like that, and I think he appreciates that because there's not a lot of people that are from that background. So
Yeah.
like like to present Danzig and what he's about, you need guys that are from that background, sort of. So it's at least the guitar player. That's why he's got Zing. I mean, Zing is really a drummer, but he got him playing bass because we're from that same mold. Max is Kansas City, and CB's back, whole New York thing. So that's important too. That it's tough when with Prong too. It's like guys that are, where do they come from? What are they doing? Like that's why like Jason as a bass player, that he's always been, he comes from the same background, sort of, where he was into, punk and metal and crossover. So, it's hard to find those guys now. Like where they come from, like the kids today, like, they reach back when they're reaching back into Avenged Sevenfold.
Right.
You know,
They announced and you were switching over and you're playing guitar with them. It made sense, and in paper it made sense. I'm like, oh, I get that. Who else is going to go in? I mean,
yeah,
you
it's
know,
tough. Yeah.
how now? What are we doing for the tour? And then, like, I know sometimes he's still doing stuff with Danzig, and Danzig wasn't doing stuff, and then he is. How are we going to keep a balance? Because I hope that this is a resurgence. A Prong is going to keep going no matter what, and you balance it out with Danzig because I'm a big Prong
Yeah,
fan.
I don't think he's. Yeah, I mean, I don't think he's going to do that much next year. And then like, there has been the recordings with Glenn, which they've interfered. Not, I mean, that's a bad word, but they've conflicted scheduling wise with Prong in the past. But he's not going to make any more records, and he's getting more and more selective about what gigs he's going to do. So yeah, I mean, uh, we got a tour, a big tour in Europe, the third tour this year. in Europe coming up in November, and then we're going to do an American tour